What I can do is I'll join live from here.
Okay.
Yeah, you can start.
Okay.
Live stream has started. No, I can't see in YouTube. It started, right? Okay, how many students are there? 6 students. Okay, how can I check it? Because I want to also go to YouTube. So YouTube, you go live, right? RFICC. Right. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll check. I'll start the session. Thanks. There are 3. Thanks. Okay. All right, welcome to SBL for the December 2024 examinations. So I see there are a couple students who have joined us online on YouTube. Perfect. So this is our weekly revision where, as a tutor, I want students to have a quick brush up on their final preparation. So we'll be having a session a week for 4 sessions. So today's session, I will be taking you through what sort of preparations you should do when you encounter the pre-C. Now, let me discuss some of the basics that all of you should be obviously aware. That is, it's a 3-hour examination paper, so you have around 180 minutes. And for this, you are awarded 100 marks. So per mark, you can actually spend 1.8 minutes. So theoretically, this is how things go. But keep in mind, students, Out of this 100 marks, 80 marks are the direct marks, and there are 20 marks that is awarded for professional skills. Many students basically ignore these minute computations. Now keep in mind, they completely ignore the professional skills. 20 marks is not that actually difficult. Okay, 20 marks is actually not difficult as long as you are professional enough. The examiner expects students from this module to be able to adapt to the actual corporate world. Rather than memorizing theory, rather than just memorizing and vomiting what you learn, he wants you to understand knowledge and apply it to realistic scenarios. That's the expectation. So professional skills are awarded to test, are you able to react appropriately? He might ask you to communicate, that's the requirement. Assess, evaluate, testing, analyzing skills. He might ask you to report, criticize. That's why we always discuss in SBL, two parts are very important. First one is professional skepticism. You should have a questioning mind. That questioning should be healthy. You can't go and doubt every single thing. It does not make any sense. But you should not trust every single data, because data provided by others can be erroneous, can be fraudulent. There are many organizations that have collapsed due to fraud, right? So just because you get data, you can't just 100% trust blindly. No. As a senior position, as a senior person in the organization, as an advisor, as a consultant, as a director, you are in that position because you have expertise. So when you're going through the received data, you should be healthily skeptic. As long as what is written makes sense, it's fine. But what is written does not make sense, then you can healthily question. That skepticism is basically tested. Second is business acumen or commercial acumen. That is your business sense. We ask you to evaluate the business environment. We don't want you to memorize the model, memorize a tester, and put it off. No. Keep in mind, examiner wants you to work on the data available and respond logically, practically. He does not want you to bring information outside the given information. So before the exams, you are given a pre-scene. At the exam, you are given a post-scene, an exhibit, set of exhibits. So information in the pre-scene and the exhibits in the post-scene are what you should consider. Do not bring information outside the given information. Yes, sometimes you might have personal experiences. And we can think, yes, we can bring these practical experiences, personal information to the exam. Please do not do that. Please do not do that. Because the examiner wants to check you or to test your rational thinking ability. The examiner wants to test, are you a person who is fit for higher level decision making? So you have to work with available information. Work with the available information, analyze that information. You will have to address the tasks. Either evaluate, either report, either assess, either provide recommendation or criticize, provide advice. So these are the requirements. So I basically encountered a couple students, very good, very brilliant students. But they had made the error of bringing personal information to the case. Examiner will not provide you marks, either rather than you lose marks. That's why whenever you see pre-scene the cases provided by SBL, most of these industries are very niche industries. He will not take, or very rarely we take industries that are commonplace. For example, think about FMCG. Most people who work in FMCGs, work in audit firms. That's what the normal routine is. So examiner wants to take a niche industry. So at least the majority of the students would have no in-depth experience on the industry. If you look at the past exams, I remember we had industries centered on football club, professional football clubs like Real Madrid, right? Barcelona. So football clubs, veterinarians, airlines. So these are all niche industries. Only a few, couple of few students would have personal exposure, personal experience. So he doesn't want to give undue advantage for the majority. And always keep in mind, yes, you can use personal information, personal experience to understand the case, but don't bring personal facts to the case. With your personal experience, you can understand the case better, but don't bring personal facts, personal experience, facts outside the case to the exam. If you do that, that's where you lose marks. Because no matter how well you addressed, you have taken irrelevant information in decision making. You have taken information not presented by the examiner to your answer script, which means you are considering information that is not there. Your decisions are not correct because why? You have considered facts. You have considered data that is not factual. It's like hypothetical data. You are bringing data. So that's something really important, students. So that keep that in mind. And then comes professional skills. Professional skills is basically providing the answer in the required format, providing the answer expected by the examiner. If the examiner wants you to state, just state, don't explain. If the examiner wants you to explain, just providing one line is not enough. You have to explain in brief. If the examiner wants you to critically evaluate, then you will have to think either sides, the pros and the cons. If the examiner wants you to criticize, you will have to question. So that's what he expects. Always look at that core point there. Is it state, evaluate, analyze, assess, recommend, advise? Those terms are what's expected by the examiner. If you answer that with the right format, with the right language, there you get your marks. There's a matrix provided by examiner where the professional marks are given on 4 to 5 categories, either 0 or full marks. So he assesses to what extent have you addressed that requirement, state, explain, describe that requirement, and to what extent have you used the right format. If the examiner has asked you to write a report, it should be very formal. If the examiner has asked you to do a presentation, prepare slides, slides will be given. Slides, you know how a PowerPoint slide should be there. You can't be descriptive. You should be in summary points. The explanations are given in notes. If the examiner asks you a briefing note, asks you an email, asks you a letter, then you will have to use the corresponding format, proper language. 20 marks. Unfortunately, most students ignore these 2 points. They just go look at the task, right. Formats test your professionalism. No matter how much knowledge you have, if your communication is problematic, as an ACCA professional, your status will be questioned. You are asked to provide a proper report. If your report is not in a proper method, proper manner, the recipients might have questions. So ACCA wants to nurture you as proper professionals. That's why they give 20 marks for professional skills. And the remaining 80 marks is for your direct answers, the content of the answer, right? So that is it. So when it comes to SBL, you must have gone through the whole syllabus. I would not rather go through the whole syllabus again, but let me give you some tactics. I usually tell my students, that is, there are certain models that will be very helpful. Keep in mind, the examiner does not want you to memorize and vomit models in the exam. Okay. What is the purpose of models, theories, frameworks? What is the purpose? The purpose is they are a tool for you to generate your answer. I'll give an example. Now, you are asked to evaluate or assess the business environment, or let's say the macro environment, we can use the PESTEL model to analyze our macro environment. Now we can still find information, find data, data and information from the given case and write them in point forms. You know what macro environment is? We can just take data and note it down. In PESTEL, what do? We take data, note it down under those categories: political environment, economic environment, socio-cultural environment, technological, ecological, and legal environment. We put the macro factors, opportunities, and threats in these 6 categories. Now, you might think it actually does not make sense. Why not we put all of them together and present? Should we exactly use PESTEL? Some students think there is no value in PESTEL, because there's not much of a difference. In PESTEL, we put the same factors under 6 categories, 6 topics. So I told you, models are a tool for you to present your answer. Right? If you do not use PESTEL and put the same set of findings in as bullet points, and in reality, when you present this to the board, obviously, wherever we go, there are oppositions. There are people, colleagues with conflicting ideas. They will have their own idea, we'll have our own idea. So when we present, they might disagree, they might bring oppositions. One of the main opposition is biasness. Colleagues, competitors, and other people, stakeholders can confront me telling that, yes, we had seen your analysis, but we think you had been biased. You would have omitted certain factors. When we are doing any analysis, there are positive findings and negative findings. People might start telling, yes, you had brought up positive findings. You would have purposefully hidden those negative findings. Right? That is something that happens. So what we do is, same set of data we present under PESTEL. And if anyone asks, we can say, okay, here, I presented my analysis using PESTEL, which is a globally used framework. So if you are telling that I had not done a good job, that means you are telling that PESTEL is missing certain factors. So you are questioning this globally accepted model used by many organizations, many individuals, many academics. So no one will start questioning a model because these models are well recognized and commonly accepted. So presenting by ourselves and presenting the same information under a model, there is a big difference, because this supports completeness and objectivity to a certain extent. So some models are to present. Some tools are there, some models, framework, these tools will help us make decisions. For example, the BCG matrix on resource allocation. Are we going to invest resource? Are we going to cash it, harvest? Are we going to divest? When it comes to managing portfolios, rather than we blindly telling, okay, business SBU1, please divest, SBU2, harvest. So if we just tell it again, people might start questioning, why do you say we should divest? Why can't we keep it? Why should you say we should harvest? Doesn't it need investment? So there, rather than explaining in paras, presenting using this model BCG will itself be explanatory. SBU1, for example, is a cash cow. So you analyze, okay, based on the level of industry growth and relative market share, we identified this SBU is a cash cow. So what to do with the cash cow itself is explanatory. So you can say, so because it's a cash cow, it will generate excess cash, which can be invested in other SBUs, which are stars or potential problem childs. So if you use that model, it will help you answer better. It will help you make the decision easier. If there is no model, how can you justify this SBU generates cash? This SBU generates excess cash. The second SBU needs cash. It's very difficult. So again, we plot our answer using a model so that we can easily provide advice. Another example, risk response. You would have learned the TARA model. Okay, risk mapping. So TARA model can again be mapped on the risk maps. Okay. The level of likelihood and level of impact are the two variables which can be used. Right, let me just take it quick. So you would have heard when it comes to risk management, one of the pretty interesting areas, level of likelihood and level of impact. We have low, we have high. In low, we have high. So obviously you are aware when it comes to risk factors, in terms of priority, 1 to 4. High priority, low priority. This is high priority. Why? High level of impact. What does high level of impact means? If that risk factor actually occurs, it will significantly affect our business. That means we will be seriously affected. Low level of impact, yes, we will be affected, but relatively, it's manageable. High likelihood means high probability of the risk occurring. Probability of the risk occurring is very high. High chance of this happening. Low likelihood, the chance of this happening is relatively low. So number one, I would say this is the highest priority. Why? The risk is very high. High chance of happening, high likelihood, and high impact. The probability of occurring is high, and if it occurs, the impact is also high. One. The second, I would still go with impact. Number two, low likelihood of occurring, low probability of occurring, less chance, but it can happen, but the chance is quite less. But if it happens, what happens? High impact. We are screwed up. This is third. Third and fourth are low impact. Low impact, high likelihood. Yes, it can happen. The high chance of happening, but relatively the impact is low, and this is 4. So if you look at TARA model, I prefer plotting TARA on the risk maps. What is TARA? T for transfer the risk, A for avoid the risk, R for reduce the risk, A for accept the risk. So see, avoiding the risk is in segment 1, highest risk, we avoid it. Next, transfer the risk. Oops, sorry. Oh. High impact is here. Transfer the risk. High impact, even though the likelihood is, probability is low, high impact, better transfer it. Companies insure. One of the basic methods of transferring this is insurance. Large corporates in risky businesses, when employees get harmed at work, they have to pay compensation. So what do? They take employee liability insurance, transfer the risk. Or if a production is very harmful, outsource the production process. Next, high likelihood, low impact. Low impact is fine. High likelihood, let's reduce the likelihood, reduce the risk. Finally, low likelihood, low impact, accept the risk. So again, your risk response. See, this provides you ideas on how to respond to a particular situation. So some models are given for us to present in a manner where the viewers view it as objective and complete, like Pester. Some models will help us make decisions, such as BCG matrix, such as this risk map, the risk mapping and risk response. Some models will help us analyze a situation. Okay. Will help us analyze a situation. In risk, you would have learned of the 4 lines of defense. We are going to analyze, is the current risk management, are the current control set sufficiently or not? 4 lines of defense is a nice example which you take there. Value chain is another example to see, do we have sufficient value creating activities? And are there non-value adding activities? Do we have sufficient primary activities and support activities? This is to analyze the current situation. and to make decisions. Porter's in things like Porter's 5 forces. To make decisions, should we enter the new industry or should we go for it? Should we avoid this industry? Porter's 5 forces. So keep in mind, guys, models are not a must in reality. Think about in practice. Some of you would have been working. In practice, when your boss asks for a decision, you don't take models and draw models right now. Keep in mind, models, frameworks, theories are tools that helps us make the decision. Okay. So keep in mind in the exam, don't think, yes, if I use this model, I get marks. No. If you use this model, that means it helps you create the answer. Now it's how you use the model. Using this model, you have to create the answer. Right. So this is one more thing I really need to remind you. Right. So there are a couple of popular models in your syllabus, and I hope your tutor would have basically reminded on those specific models. And I would specifically, most of these models that I discussed are very important. And I would specifically remind you on 2 small models that are very helpful for any decision maker. First one, you would have learned of the strategic management process or the strategic planning process. So there are 3 stages in the strategic management or the planning process. First one is the strategic analysis. We call this strategic position, strategy choice or strategic options. And then we have strategic implementation or strategy into action. First, we understand where we are. What is a strategy? Strategy is your action plan that you plan to implement to achieve your objective. So this strategy is implemented in the future because your objective is to be achieved in the future. What you do to attain the objective. First, we need to understand where we are, strategic position, strategic analysis. And then based on that, yes, we know our objective, we know where we are, and now you derive multiple strategies to achieve that objective. Once you derive multiple strategies, after deriving the multiple strategy, you have to also select the final strategy out of those. And then once you select the final strategy, you have to make sure you implement it as per the plan. And then again, you will have to understand what's going on because the future is uncertain. You would have learned risk cannot be eliminated fully. At least there is residual risk. What is residual risk? After addressing the risk, there can be some risk that has not been eliminated, that is still present. That's residual risk because the future is uncertain. Okay. For example, let's say you are having a bike. There's a risk of getting into a bike accident. You will take a lot of strategies to ensure you do not have the accident. Can you eliminate? You can't eliminate. Yes, we can take many strategies. On a daily basis, we can maintain our bike. We only ride the bike in very safe roads, which does not have any gaps, which is less congested. We drive slow. We keep our phone on on silence mode so we don't get disturbed. And we don't drive using congested hours. So even if we don't drive when it's raining. So even if you take all of these precautions, can you guarantee 100% you will never get in an accident? No, we can reduce that to a major extent, but still you are doing a good job, but the opposite vehicle was restless. They were careless. They can come knock you out. So similarly, risk cannot be eliminated. As we discussed the Tara model, we can transfer, avoid, accept, or reduce the risk. Similarly, the strategies are implemented in the future to achieve the objective. If you are unable to achieve the objective, that means there is a risk factor. The extent of not achieving your objective is high means high risk. The extent of not achieving your objective is low means low risk. So once we are implementing the strategy, we have to also consistently, periodically check, okay, what's our situation, strategic analysis. So rather than process, it's called a cycle. It keeps on repeating. So this is one of the models I basically prefer because it's simple, very practical. This strategy, when you're implementing strategy, those are decisions, right? When strategy is implemented, they come under the form of decisions. When you're taking a decision, the decision is taken with a purpose. So that's a strategy. What is strategy? the action plan to achieve an objective, to achieve a purpose. Whatever decision you take, as long as it has a purpose, it has an objective, that is where you implement the strategy. Right? So any decision taken by an organization is under this process. The company wants to grow its revenue. It wants to acquire a business. That's part of this strategy. The objective is revenue growth. They understood where they are, and they had multiple strategic choices. One of those so of these choices that can lead to revenue growth, they had finalized on acquisition, and now they implement it. And they have to keep on checking after implementing that, are we achieving the growth we want? So see, any decision taken by an organization is strategy. So in the exam, in the case, these are decisions taken or decisions proposed. All of these are strategies. And they're asking you to criticize the decision, analyze, is a strategy suitable or not? Is a strategy successful or not? So you will have to also you can take them through this process and see, has the strategy that they implemented good or not? For that comes the second model that I wanted to discuss. Now, a strategic choice is where you generate multiple strategies and then you finalize the strategy that you want to implement. So how do you evaluate those strategies? Let's say you generated 8 strategies and you have to select one strategy. How do you evaluate the 8 strategies and then select that one strategy? Second model I need you to remember is the SFA matrix. Every strategic choice you will assess on its suitability, feasibility, and acceptability. Only for strategic choice satisfies all three can you select that strategy. So this is the screening process. I'll just take you through this. Suitability. Suitability is the strategy suitable? What is the purpose of a strategy? Purpose of a strategy is to achieve the objective of the organization. You develop a strategy to achieve a specific objective. If this strategy that you brought, if it does not achieve that objective, it's not suitable. You're not achieving your objective. Suitable tests. If I implement this strategy, will I achieve the objective? Yes or no? If it achieves, that's an effective strategy. It's a suitable strategy. Second, feasibility. Do we have the resources? Basically, is it realistic? Do we have the resources to implement? Yes, a nice strategy. Yes, doing this strategy will achieve the objective. Very suitable strategy, effective strategy. But the company does not have the relevant funds, the relevant technology, the relevant labor, skills, talents to implement this. So how can this strategy be implemented? So feasibility is the second factor, which tests, do we have the resources to implement that particular strategy? In simple terms, can we do the strategy? That's number 2. Finally comes acceptability. Is that strategy acceptable to the organization, acceptable to the stakeholders? Right. Sometimes a strategy can be suitable. It achieves our objective and we can also implement it. We have the resources. For example, let's say we are an organization. Our objective is to grow the revenue, grow the profit by 20%. Our objective is to grow the profit by 20%. That's the objective. A strategy can be suitable, can be feasible. For example, the strategy is now to increase profit. There are two options. One is increase your revenue. Second is reduce your cost. So I want to reduce my cost. For example, I can, when it comes to, packaging, I can go for inferior plastic packages. Okay. At present, we are having recyclable materials as package. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that with plastic packages, which is very cheap. We can reduce our cost drastically. But the problem is using plastic, it's non-recyclable, it's harmful to the environment. So what's our objective? Growing revenue. Yes, if we replace our packaging with plastic, which is non-recyclable, hard to recycle, suitable? Can we do it? Yes, we have the resources, we have the supplies, we can do it. But our company's mission is to be an eco-friendly business. Our company's mission is to be an eco-friendly business. Or one of our values can be eco-friendly, being eco-friendly. Okay. And many companies nowadays follow the Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And there are many goals which are related to the stakeholders. One of them can include poverty, income equality, and also protecting the environment. Let's say that protecting the environment is our long-term objective. Now, with that objective in place, with that value in place, now can you recommend a strategy where you harm the environment? It's not acceptable. That's what acceptability is. Is this strategy in line with the organization's values, organization's objectives, organization's mission? In simple terms, will the shareholders be okay with this strategy? Will the directors be okay with this strategy? Will this affect the organization's positioning? That is acceptability. So when you want to finalize a strategy from the multiple strategic choices, you will have to look at these three. Now, guys, if you had gone through the previous pre-scenes, previous examinations, even the questions on study hub, they might give you tasks. For example, there's a requirement going on and several directors had proposed different strategies and they're asking you to criticize. How are you criticizing? You criticize using this. A director brought proposal number 1. They're asking you to evaluate. Simply use SFA. That strategy is a decision. How am I going to criticize? Evaluate the decision. Is it suitable? If it's suitable, we are achieving the objective. If it's feasible, that means it's doable. Is it acceptable? It's in line with the organization's expectations. So if a strategy satisfies these three, there is nothing for us to complain. There are things, but it's not major things. So for examination purpose, I would ask you, if you are asked to evaluate a strategy, go for this. If you are asked to criticize, use this. A very simple framework, but very comprehensive. All right. So as I always stated, guys, don't think if I use very complicated models all the time, I will get marks. No, models are tools which will help you generate your answer better. So these are 2 models which I want you to readily be prepared with. One is the strategic management process. Second, from the strategic management process, how you generate strategic choices and how do you finalize the strategic choice that you are going to implement. SFA model. So quite a kind reminder, students who have not learned with me, make sure these 2 models are in your checklist. Right. Now, guys, coming back, next we'll discuss the role of pre-C. Since it's our first revision session, I want to understand what you are dealing with. Many students think, so here the pre-scene has around 10 to 12 pages. And in the final examination, you are given the post-scene, where you are given a couple of exhibits and relevant tasks. The examiner might give around 7 to 8 or 7 to 10 exhibits, and he might give around 3 to 4 tasks. And to address the task, we have to read the relevant exhibit orderly. Okay. For example, he might give, let's say, 7 exhibits. Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 exhibit. And there are tasks. Let's say there are 4 tasks. These tasks are in order. For example, first task can be from exhibit 1 and 2. Second task can be only from exhibit 3. Third task from exhibit 3, 4, 5. Fourth task from exhibit 7. See, it's orderly. The examiner will not take exhibit 1, 2, and 6 for task 1. No, he will not do that. It's all in order. Okay. So the information that you will get is order. Why? See, if you are in a senior position in the organization, if you are a senior manager, you don't go and collect data by yourself. You have subordinates who will collect data and they will present their findings to you. Similarly, now examiner has a task and he has presented information collected by your subordinates. That's how things happen. You are the head. You have to do the thinking. You have to do the final decision making, right? So once this is done, you read a task. First thing is you have to identify which exhibits are belonging to first task number 1, which exhibits are belonging to task number 2. And then you read exhibit 1 and 2. You read exhibit 1 and 2, and then you answer the first task. Students think pre-scene is actually not needed. Why? To do the first task, the information is given directly from exhibit 1 and 2. Correct. To do the first task, information is given in exhibit 1 and 2. So perfectly you read exhibit 1 and 2 and then work around that information to answer task 1. And they completely ignore pre-scene. Everything's fine except ignoring the pre-scene. Yes, to do the task 1, you have to get information from exhibit 1 and 2. Then why has the examiner given you pre-scene? Keep in mind, you are not doing a Q&A session here. You are a senior personnel in an organization. So before you address a situation, you should not only think about the problem. You should also think, if I take this decision for this problem, what is happening with the overall organization? You can't isolate the other SBUs. You can't isolate the other functions. You can't ignore the other factors in the organization. As a senior personnel, an action of yours can affect many aspects. So you need to first understand what's going on in the organization, what's going on in the industry, what's going on in all of the business environment. So that is given in pre-scene. So in the pre-scene, you will have a proper understanding of what our product is, what our operations are, what our internal business situation is, what our external business situation is, what's going on with the industry. They will give you this information so that you will have a better understanding of what's going on. See, strategic marketing process, first strategic management process, first stage, strategic position. They are giving those information for you to understand your situation at large. So keeping that in mind, now you are reading exhibit 1 and 2 and addressing task. See, two companies have the same problem. For example, company A and company B both have their sales declined. Same problem. If they're in the same industry and their situation is the same, do you think the same strategy will work for both of them? No. Company A and B are having their sales reduced. Customers are switching to competitors. And now they're asking for, and they're of similar scale. Now they're asking for solutions. You can't just give the same strategy for both. It might not work. Because let's say, for example, company A has access to, or company A has a parent in another country. So company A has a parent in another country. So it has access to larger financial resources. It has access to larger technological resources. Company B is a home-based brand. They don't have access to excess funds, excess technological resources. So the strategy they are going to implement will be different. Company B has limited access to resources. They might have to go for a different strategy than company A. So this background information is all given in the pre-scene. So you'll have to properly understand pre-scene. That's why the examiner releases the pre-scene 2 weeks before the exam. So students can take time, read, understand what's going on in the industry. Right? Okay. So this basically, presented the September 2024 examinations pre-scene information. So here you can see there's a lot of information. Normally, every pre-scene has very similar information. They will give you industry information. They will give you company information. They will give you websites, and they will give you other information like KPIs. Right? So when it comes to industry information, they'll give you information about the industry, information about the products, information about competitors. They'll give all of this information. So here, for example, in the previous examination session, so our company Beago is a transport network company. So this year they are given so much of information with a couple of graphs that makes us understand the data better. They've given us latest developments for us to understand what's going on in the industry. They've given us industry KPIs. In terms of background, they've given us financial information as well. Internal information structure, their organizational structure. So they give us these information. And website extracts is something I usually see in the pre-scene, because see, nowadays the digital landscape cannot be avoided. Even if you are not what do you call, having an e-commerce platform, you just have a physical store, but still companies want to be present in the digital scape, because that's where you communicate with your potential customers. KPIs, that's it. So we have a total of 13 pages, these including the cover page. So around 11 page content is given in the pre-scene. So once you get this, what should you do? That's the next question. You have to be very careful. You get this for 2 weeks. Rather than just reading and highlighting, I prefer you read this in detail and take note of the important information given in the pre-scene. So for the previous examination session, basically I had noted down, just nothing much. You read and you note down the information. And make sure once you note down in the whole information in a document, you should be able to create a mind map. That is important. Don't just highlight the information and forget those information. No. Write that separately so that you have a separate document where you have the major findings noted down. All major findings. So these are the important factors. Some can be positive factors, some can be negative factors. These are the ones that can be used in answering the tasks in the examination. Right? So you should be able to properly be thorough with the pre-scene to the extent that with the note you wrote, you should be able to create a proper mind map. So let me take you through this, this document which I have just typed out for the previous session. And I'll just take you through this document so that I will take you through the story of this company, Beago. Right. So let me take you through this so that you'll have an idea what sort of preparation you need to have at the end of, before the exams. So our company is Beago, and we are in the transport network company. We call TNC in abbreviation. And we are in the country of Beeland, which has a population of over 200 million. This shows the market size. Okay. Beago operates only in Beeland. Our brand is operating only in the home country, and it has a history of 12 years. And now it is the second largest TNC business in the country of Beeland. Second largest in terms of revenue, market share, and customer numbers in both aspects. So now we have understanding of the introduction. Next, let's look at the industry. TNC, Transport Network Company. What does this industry mean? So if I ask TNC, most of you are unfamiliar what TNC is. So TNC is referring to on-demand transportation services. On-demand transportation services. When the customer wants, he get the transport facility. So these are typically from websites, mobile apps like Uber. Companies do not own the vehicles, no employ drivers directly. Now, see, in most countries, we have these app-based cab services like Uber and Pick Me in Sri Lanka, Uber and Ola in India. We have these services. So you can use your personal knowledge to understand the question, but don't bring personal information to be biased with the information. He's in a different country. Okay, same cab services, in some countries it's doing good, some countries it's doing bad, but you can use a personal experience to understand the situation better. The only place where you can use your personal information is if they ask you to recommend something. When they ask you to recommend, then you can find loopholes in the case and provide recommendation. These recommendations are obviously what you think should be done. So that's the only place where your personal experience becomes very helpful. In other places, do not use your personal experience. You have to use information given in the case. So companies do not own the vehicles, so no employed drivers. That's how Uber works. So the drivers are typically independent contractors. They are not employees of the organization. They are just contractors, partners with the organization. And in the Beeland country, it's a well-developed country. Approximately 80% of population are in urban areas. So we can see how and people have migrated towards the urbanized areas. They live and work in the urban areas, 80% of population in the urban areas. It's a rapidly growing urban population, resulted in issues like overcrowding, problems we have seen overcrowding, increased pressure in public transport services because 80% of population are in urban areas. Government is supporting solutions for the current transport challenge. So the government has identified these problems very problematic: overcrowding, increased pressure in public transport, very crowded buses, trains, public transport services. So government is also supporting any organization that brings a solution to address these problems. So TNCs are becoming popular. Why? It's convenient, it's fair price, it charges a fair price, and it's recognized by the government as an alternative solution. So government also has a positive attitude towards TNC because the pressure on public transport has alleviated to a certain extent, because these uh, TNCs have made people replace their own vehicles. Imagine a very overcrowded area where every family has a vehicle. Now there'll be high congestion, high traffic. So TNCs are also supported because some of the population would stop using private vehicles and rather take TNCs. If you look at the Beeline market, the main competitor is Zenbi. TNC is the second largest in the industry. The main competitor, number one, is Zenbi. It was the first TNC business in Beeline 12 or 14 years ago. TNC was initiated or launched 12 years ago, and now their main competitor Zenbi was basically, they started their business 14 years ago. That means they have a 2-year time upfront, and they were the first TNC business, so they have the first move advantage as well. Now it's the first largest in Beeline and the second largest in the world. Now see, it's first largest in Beeline and also in the world it's the second largest. It's present in 50 countries. Now keep in mind, Beago is present only in the country of Beeline, while its main competitor Zenbi is present in 50 countries. It's first in the country, second in the world. So you can't compare first and second of Beeline. First in Beeline is Zenbi, second is Beago. You can't compare because we have no information about the market share. Second thing is Beeline, our business is present only in our country, while this market leader is present in 50 countries. So there should be a big substantial gap. So don't think there's a difference of one rank, but it is a massive difference. Keep that in mind. So if you are going to recommend any strategies to compete head on with Zenbi, that is a big risky decision. Beago was able to grow. So see, this information is given in the pre-scene. So in the final exam, they might say, okay, you want to be the market leader. My goodness, it's a very difficult job there. Okay, can do, but it's difficult. You have to consider the situation of Zenbi as well. Beago was able to grow by predating Zenbi's market share. So Beago, the second, our company, the second in the market in Beeland. It's present only in Beeland, but still we were able to grab customers from Zenbi. And we were able to grow. Beago is only in Beeland. I have given this info earlier as well. And it provides services in 250 cities in the country of Beeland. If you look at the government, the local authorities intervening in the TNC industry. How? By providing license to TNCs and their drivers. Yes, so these TNCs will basically have independent contracts with drivers. Any driver can basically contract with TNC and provide the services of Beago. But for them to provide the service of Beago after contacting our organization, they will also have to get the license from the local authority. The TNC has to get the license. The drivers also have to get the license from the local authority. Without the local authority, without the government, it will be a hectic process. We can't legally provide this service. You can see the impact of the role of government here. If the government has a very negative attitude towards us, there will be problems in operations. Many TNC organizations were attracted to the Beeline market. However, most currently operate in a limited number of cities. So you can see the potential of these services, TNCs. So many TNC organizations were also attracted to the Beeline market. However, most currently operate in a limited number of cities. The capacity is less. The competition scope is limited. As at end 2023, Zenbi and Beeland hold 85% TNC market share of Beeland. So as at end of 2023, Zenbi, the market leader one, Beeland, second in the market. That's Beeland is us. The two of us collectively hold 85% market share. The other minor TNCs hold the remaining 15%. So you can see how significant it is. Customers registered with TNCs in Beeland, they have doubled in the last 8 years. So if you look at customers of TNCs in the country of Beeland, it has doubled in the last 8 years. You can see more and more people are now using TNC services. As at end 2023, 25% of population were active users. As at end 2023, 1/4 of the population are active users. This population includes every living person from babies to old-aged veterans. 1/4 of them are using TNC services actively. So we have competition. Traditional, so TNCs also have competition. What are the competition? Traditional taxi cabs, public transports like trains and buses, they are competitors. Zenbi market share gradually has declined, and Beago and other competitors have a gradual rise over the years. Keep in mind, just because Zenbi's market share has declined, this does not mean revenue has declined of Zenbi. This is my note here. Why? They have specifically stated over the last 8 years, active users have doubled. For example, 8 years ago, 1 million people were using TNC. Now, after 8 years, 2 million. Okay. So the market has doubled in 8 years. Zenbi's customers might not have doubled. Even if they had grown 50%, the market share will reduce, but the revenue would have increased. Okay, for example, think like this. 1,000 users. Let's say Zenbi had 800, for example, had 800 customers using, so 80% of customers from Zenbi. After 8 years, 1,000 became 2,000. Zenbi, let's say this includes 1,000. Custom percentage is 50%. Assuming every customer provides equal revenue, market share would have reduced. Earlier, market share was 80%, now market share is 50%. But this does not mean revenue has declined. No, early 800 customers, now 1,000 customers. Yes, some of our customers had been taken by Beelan, but the new customers, some of them would have come to us. So just because our market share declined, that does not mean revenue had declined. Keep in mind, students, this is the importance of reading the pre-scene, understanding the situation. Now, they have always spoken negatively of Zenbi. Zenbi has Beelan has taken Zenbi's customers, Zenbi's market share has reduced, but do not get distracted there. You need to understand. And specifically, they have given here. Customers registered with TNCs had doubled. So see, it does not mean they have not mentioned anything about Zenbi's revenue. They only said market share has reduced. It's like here, 80%, 50% market share has reduced. But they have not mentioned anything about revenue has reduced or increased. But keep in mind, logically, you can't come to a conclusion just. The most reasonable is, yes, they might have lost some customers. Their market share reduced. But with the expansion of market size, they would have gained customers. So I am basically biased towards their market share reduced, but revenue would have not reduced. So keep in mind that. Don't always think Zenbi is doing bad. TNC services, they provide many services. What are the services provided by TNCs? One is ride sharing. Ride sharing, okay, is where the travel is shared between multiple passengers. This is done with the customer's consent, where the customer can select, are we going to share the ride or not? What are the advantages? Cheaper price. Just like in India, we have share auto, right? Yeah, something like that. In the same destination, there are multiple different passengers who are sharing the ride. So the price is also shared, cheaper price. Fare is shared amongst customers. Reduced congestion, because three different passengers are using the same vehicle rather than three different vehicles. So the amount of vehicles in the road has reduced. So reduced congestion. And positive impact to environment. Because of less vehicles due to TNC, we have reduced environmental pollution. We have reduced congestion. We have reduced traffic. Disadvantages, you have to travel with strangers, which is a risk. We do not know the internal environment of the country of Beelan. Is it safe or is it risky? So possible thing is there is. You have to travel with strangers. If strangers are good, it's fine. But if the strangers are harmful, that's a risk going on. And another disadvantage is high possibility of getting delayed. Yes, you are going, the driver will be dropping different passengers. Unfortunately, if you are one of the last passengers, your time would have been delayed. So that is called ride sharing services of TNC. Keep in mind, this is under the consent of the passenger. If the customer can tick, I'm agreeing with ride sharing. The advantage is cheaper cost, disadvantage is delayed in time, no privacy, things like that. Next one is ride hailing. Ride hailing where the customer has the ride for himself or herself. Customer will not share rides. This is booked via mobile app or websites, and this is the most popular service in TNCs. This is the most generic service. I book my destination, I travel alone. And this is on demand, or it can also be scheduled in advance. The time can be scheduled. If you look at direct competitors for ride hailing, we have other traditional taxi cabs where we can go to the street, take the cab, or give a phone call, get the cab here. Micromobility. Micromobility is interesting. This is where your TNCs provide transport services where passengers can utilize bicycles where they get on rent. But passengers are provided bicycles which they can basically use for rent. They take the bicycle, go to the destination, hand off the bicycle. Bicycles are docked in key locations around the city, and they are specifically stated 80% of population in urban areas. So a lot of numbers, a lot of population are in the urban areas, and in cities, they have bicycle docks where people can take and even drop bicycles there. Docking stations are terminals to release the bicycle, even pick up or drop the bicycle. Mechanism, TNC platform is used to book and pay for bicycle rent. After booking, customers are provided with a code to unlock the bicycle. Customers return the bicycle to any nearby docking station at the end of the hire period. Advantages, again, lower price, environmentally friendly. Bicycles are environmentally friendly, does not emit fumes, and more efficient for shorter travels, especially when there is traffic. When there is traffic, bicycles, it's more flexible to use bicycles. So that's three. So we discussed ride sharing, where a ride is shared, ride hailing, where the ride is only for us, micromobility, bicycles for rent. Customer rentals, TNCs and local and national car rental businesses are in a partnership. Very pretty interesting here. So here what happens is TNCs partner with other car rental businesses. So what happens is customers log into the TNC platform. We discussed TNC platforms are there in mobile apps and website. Customers, passengers would go to the TNC platform, and through our TNC platform, through our app, through our website, they can book a rental car. That's how there's a partnership. Through our app, they book the rental car. The rental period is typically between 1 to 14 days, 1 day to 2 weeks. Driver is provided by the rental business. Car rental businesses pay a commission to TNC for each car rental booked. So TNC provides them a platform so that their passengers can also get this service, car rental service, and they earn a commission. For car rental businesses, they are provided access to a platform where large number of users are using. We discussed 25% of population active users in TNCs. So we are exposed to 25% of population active users. And if they need longer term rides, we are now in a platform where they can get those services. Business services, other business services. Services provided to organization. This is where TNC provides service to organization, where they help employee commute to organization, to events and meetings. This is where TNC have a contract with the organizations, business organizations, where business organizations seek our transport service for employee commuting. Can be commuting from home to work, work to home, commuting for events, commuting for meetings. Businesses use TNC to provide courtesy transport to customers. Even when there's a distinguished customer, they can contact our TNC and provide courtesy transport to these customers. What are the disadvantages to businesses, to the customer? advantages to businesses or the customer. Reduced cost, saves time, and streamlines on ground transportation activities. Think there's a business. Think about courtesy transport for customer. We might get customers on and off who are distinguished, and we need to provide them transportation. Now, can we have a separate vehicle in the organization with a separate driver who will only have, let's say, 3 rides a month? It's a waste. If we have waste in the vehicle, which is kept unused, and we are employing an employee who has a lot of idle time. Rather than that, when we need, we get a TNC. So these are the different services. So even for students who have not used these travel services, the examiner gives you detailed information on different products. So don't worry. In your examination, we do not know what sort of industry. The only thing I can guarantee is it's a niche industry where not much people would have practical experience working. So, however, the examiner will give every information the students should know for exams. So, products: sharing rides, ride-hailing one-to-one, bicycle for rent, customer rentals, long-term rentals, and business services. It's about the industry of TNC. TNC customers. The procedure to be a customer is you have to create an account on the website or app. We are users of different TNCs. Customer must enter personal details and card details, 100% payment on cards. There's no cash service here. So in the TNC platform, the payment is only on cards. Price quoted at the point of booking, which customer must confirm to accept the ride. Price is quoted at the point of booking. When booking, we have given our pickup, we have given the destination, price is quoted in advance. Customer must confirm to accept the ride. When the customer confirms, the ride comes, and then the payment gets deducted from the card. There is no negotiation afterwards. Once the notification is sent to the driver and driver accepts the ride request, drive information is sent to customer. For security purpose, yes, once the customer wants a ride, the driver accepts the ride, driver's information is sent to the customer. This includes driver's profile, vehicle model, vehicle registration number. This is for customer safety. Customer can track the driver location in the in-app map, and payment is deducted from card at the end of the ride. At the end of the ride, customer is required to rate the ride. A very comprehensive process which most of you are familiar with who have been using TNCs like Uber. What about TNC drivers? Internal controls have been set so that TNC drivers must register on the TNC's platform. Driver must choose the city they wish to drive in. Driver must have a full BLN driving license. Have a full BLN driving license, private car hiring license, which is authorized by the local authority of the city. We discussed earlier, government intervenes through the local authorities where they give license to TNC as well as license to drivers. So driver should have a BLN driving license as well as private car hiring license. This is for use of TNC. Driver cannot drive until all background checks are done by this third party, the government, the local authority. Photo to be uploaded for customer identification. Vehicle has to meet specifications for vehicle age, vehicle condition, full insurance. No need to own vehicles. No need to necessarily own the vehicle, but the vehicle that is used for TNC must be registered with their condition. Because some TNCs are also offering leasing facilities for the drivers. Ride fares calculated by TNC, not the driver. It's automatic. TNCs pay the driver 75% to 85% of the ride price. This TNC, the industry, right? Now we are having a better picture of the industry going on. Attracted students, retired employees, and part-time workers are typically more inclined to use this driver service. Attracted students. This has attracted students who would want a part-time job on driving. Retired employees, they take as a livelihood. Other part-time workers, they are also based on data, they are people who are more inclined to use these driver services and be drivers. Drivers are rated by customers at the end of the ride. So if driver services are bad, customers will reflect it through ratings. Industry challenges: revenue and profit affected by global economic conditions. The revenue of TNC, profit of TNC is affected by global economic conditions. For example, slow economic growth, recession, increase in fuel prices will reduce the customer spending. Critical success factors. One is drivers. Drivers should attract and retain. TNC should attract and retain drivers. If not, complaints and negative publicity. Again, we have to attract and retain customers. These are the critical success factors to achieve the TNC's objective. One is we have to keep our drivers with us, keep the customers with us. Risks, safety issues, we discussed earlier. The driver's profile is sent to the customer in advance, so customer can inform their family, their contacts, because there are certain risks like assault, theft, unauthorized use of cards or bank accounts, sharing customer driver information. These are all safety issues, and there are many lawsuits involved, and we need internal controls to safeguard against illegal or improper activities. Environmental impact, transportation sector. In the transportation sector, TNC is in the transportation sector. So there is air pollution and rising congestion. We are aware of that. Many cities are introducing technologies to manage traffic flow and congestion. Clean air zones are being introduced in many cities to improve air quality. Drivers pay a fee for driving in those zones. And finally, latest developments in TNCs. On top of passenger transport, we are now providing food delivery. And driverless cars are being, excuse me. And then in terms of latest developments, earlier TNCs were used for passenger transport, but now we are also looking into a food delivery. On top of that, driverless cars, autonomous cars. This is something interesting. This is being tested for TNCs. Now, once this gets approved, it will be pretty interesting. Driver would might not be the one who's driving. The owner would rather be a passenger and let the vehicle automatically pick the passenger and drop the passenger. At present, this requires at least one supervisor to be present. Yes. Just because the car is driverless, the owner of the car, the driver can't be at home and send the car. No, no, no. To ensure that there is someone in case of emergency, even though it's a driverless car, they at least need to sit and be there. So this has been tested for TNCs. Electric vehicles, this addresses the environmental pollution from fossil fuel cars. So these are certain developments that recent. Industry KPIs, key performance indicators, number of active customers, active drivers, rides completed. When you're given these KPIs, students, keep in mind, what are KPIs? Companies have objectives. To achieve this objective, we develop strategies, right? So there are certain factors that are important, that are very core, fundamental for us to achieve these objectives. They are the critical success factors. If we ignore the critical success factors, we can never achieve the objective. Critical success factors are the major points that must be addressed to achieve the objective. And achievement of critical success factors is basically done by KPIs, key performance indicators. Key performance indicators. So key performance indicators measures the achievement of critical success factors. Critical success factors are needed for the achievement of objectives. So see, as they have given you the industry KPIs, TNCs in general. What are the generic KPIs? So here you are given information on understanding what are the key areas that a company, let's say Beago, should not fail. Number of active customers, drivers, how many rides have been completed, which shows the frequency of usage, revenue, net promoter score. Net promoter score is the satisfaction and loyalty rating of customers, indicating to what extent they would recommend TNC services to others, just like ratings. Driver satisfaction is basically rated by customer at the end of the drive. There are many measures to score driver satisfaction, such as the rates of pay, safety provisions, support received from TNC. These all industry KPIs. Regulation, there's no overall operating standards. For example, there is no minimal standard for technology, data security, driver status, environmental impact. Some countries, trade unions and driver network associations have been established, where they have obtained successes in challenging TNCs via legal system on recognizing driver employment rights and status. Certain countries have basically enjoyed drivers' employment rights and status via, even if they're TNCs, even if they're independent contractors. Now let's give a couple of, now they have given a couple of information on the company. So company information on Beago, background we discussed 12 years ago. The founders are given, Ed Foss and Kimley. They have prior experience in setting mobile apps. Later, for financing purposes, they sought venture capitalists. Customers have been expanded. In 2013, more than 16 million customers. 2014, they have predicted 19 million, around 20% growth. One reason for this is expansion in presence in more number of cities. They have been expanding their presence in more number of cities, which is one of the reasons why they have predicted a large amount of growth next year. Ownership, it's listed in the stock market 5 years ago. 80% of shares is owned by institutional investors. 10% shares are still held by the founders, and the remaining 10% are small private investors, individual investors. Services, they provide 4 of the 5 services. We discussed 5 services of TNCs. They do not provide customer rental services. What is customer rental services? TNC Beago partners with rental cars and have them attract customers through our platform. They do not provide that service. Original intention at the start was to ride sharing. Beago's original purpose at the start was for ride sharing. Purpose is for environmental safety. But now they are giving the other 3 factors. Ride sharing is for environmental safety. Bicycle is fine. But what about ride hailing? They have to do that because that's the most popular service. Okay. 12% revenue is coming from ride sharing. Students and low-income customers basically go for this. Major revenue comes from ride hailing. Just like the industry, majority revenue comes from ride hailing. Micro-mobility, since 5 years ago, we have started micro-mobility via acquisition. And the demand has been growing. In the last 2 years, Beago has invested significantly on infrastructure. 9 million active users in over 100 cities. Keep in mind, guys, Beago was established 12 years ago. So in ride sharing, they earned 12%. That was their main purpose. Micro-mobility was established 5 years ago. Even though they acquired an existing business, they started activities 5 years ago. And their market share is 11%. Micro-mobility bicycles, prices are less, but still out of the total company revenue, 11% comes from this. While 12% comes from rideshare, which was operation started since 12 years ago. Business services, only 5%. Business services started since 2 years ago. Even though it was 2 years ago, they have reached 5% of the total company's revenue. So relatively good revenue. This shows their demand. Ride hailing, 72%. This also shows the potential, right? Potential of business services and especially micro-mobility. Technology, websites, mobile apps have been used for the interface. Payment processing softwares are used for customer payments. And this is also used to pay the driver weekly to his bank account. Customer and driver database is also there through our platform. We can have access to their personal data, bank data, card data, driver statistics, including driver rating. GPS software is there in the app so that we can locate the customer, locate the driver, and also provide recommended route, live location. These are all there for tracking purposes. Agreement, there is no specific information whether it's a partnership or an outsourcing. When it comes to Beago, we have an agreement with a cloud service provider to host the technology platform. Basically, we are present in mobile phones, through mobile apps and websites. So this technology platform we are not providing in-house. We have an agreement with the external cloud service provider in the same country to host this technology platform. They have said that they are an agreement, but they have not specified on the details. Is it a partnership? Is it an outsourcing? They have not agreed. They have not stated. And based on our judgment, obviously outsourcing is not recommended because that's a core activity. So you can refer to Harman's process strategy matrix to support your answer. I always told you models are tools that will help us justify our reason. Track all data on services. They can also track all data, including time of order, confirmation, driver arrival, time of completion, ratings. So this is also helpful for Beago to understand their current process, and also they can improve this. Later, in terms of any customer complaints, they have evidences to cross-check the customer complaints. This will improve the service experience and predict future customer behavior. We can also predict future customer behavior. Basically, see, if you look at the data, let's say for a month in a particular city, we can also identify in which destination we have more passengers, which pickup point has more passengers, in which travel route we have more passengers after midnight. So these data can be taken from actual data. Relies significantly on technology for marketing purposes. For marketing purpose, we rely significantly on technology. Perfectly right, because now everything's in the digital landscape, especially the teenagers and adults. Digital media and traditional media have been used both for marketing purposes. Main customer engagement is via digital media, including emails, in-app notifications, social media content, totally fine. Marketing messages, we go with Beago. They want a more partnership, collaborative type of bond with the customers. Staff, we have over 5,000 staff in 60 locations. This tells us our expansion, they are in 60 locations physically. Board of director composition, we have 6 executive directors, 7 non-executive directors with chairperson. CEO's role is a problem here. For example, if you look at under corporate governance, you would have learned of the role of executive and non-executive directors. If you look at executive directors, we have 1 chief executive officer, finance officer, technology officer, commercial officer, people officer, 6 marketing officers. There's a non-executive chairperson and 6 more here. So total there are 7. The generic corporate government recommendation is, in terms of board composition, non-executive directors should be equal or more than executive directors, excluding the chairperson. So if you exclude the chairperson, 6 NEDs and 6 EDs, totally fine. Numbers are fine, but we have a problem with the board structure, CEO's role. Normally, guys, executive directors are headed by the CEO. The total board of directors, that is ED and NED, is headed by the chairperson. And keep in mind, chairperson is a non-executive director. He will not get involved in executive decisions. It's more of a figurehead here. But here, the chief executive officer is put in the same wavelength as the other 6 executive directors. So can the chief executive officer actually head the executive directors? As per the organizing structure, CEO and other executive directors are in the same wavelength, same authority levels. So here we have a question, what is the role of CEO? Does he have high authority? Can he control the other executive directors? This is a question that has to be dealt with. If there are related questions in the examination asking you to criticize, this is one thing you can bring up. Risk register, so obviously you know what risk register is, pretty important to extract. So in risk register is basically a document which records everything about all risks identified by the organization. Details include the date of identification, what risk was identified, who identified it, what is the recommended action plan that we had decided, the date of deciding, who is responsible, has this action plan been implemented, when was it implemented, what is the outcome. If it is solved, it's fine. If it is not solved, again we set up next strategies, next action plan. So it has a complete comprehensive information on what did we do with the risk, how did we identify risk, how did we assess risk, how did we respond to risk, with dates, with person responsible. We have a complete history of all risks identified. That's risk register. So in terms of risk register, we have identified risks related to reputation, brand, and culture. Risk factors like illegal, negligent, or reckless behavior by drivers or customers, concerns of customers on drivers of state. So these are areas where you can recommend internal controls. Platform issues, disruption or defects, privacy and data security breaches, failure to operate in consistent with values and mission, failure to maintain culture with which employees value and wish to work in. Similarly, we have problems on technology infrastructure, competition, licensing, and industry regulation. These are all risks identified. Finally, they have also given us information on the vision, mission, and values. So you understand what the company's direction is, long-term vision, mission, as well as the values of the organization. And they have also provided the procedures set for customers and driver safety, procedures for the environment. So these are the information provided mainly in the pre-scene. See? And finally, KPIs. They have given us graphs. Through these graphs, you should be able to identify. Always keep in mind, be very careful. See? From W to X. So this is the old, this is the new. If you look at Beago, our revenue has been increased Active customers have been grown. Rides completed has been increased. So when you want to, I always prefer, guys. So here we can't see a specific data in terms of numbers. If you are given numbers, use basic ratios and find the annual growth rate. It's easy for you to discuss your findings. Percentage of revenue per share, revenue per service. So we are providing 4 services: ride hailing, ride sharing, micro mobility, and business services. Business services was introduced 2 years ago. That's why we have business services here. So ride hailing is the breadwinner. And we can see there's a slight decline here in terms of overall percentage. Value-wise, everything had increased. Percentage-wise, in terms of revenue composition, it has declined. Ride sharing, we can also see there's a small decline in terms of percentage. Because why? Micro mobility has been gaining more and more revenue. In terms of revenue percentage, micro mobility has increased. Same thing with business services. Of those two, we can see that in terms of revenue composition, hailing and sharing has slightly decreased. Now, again, don't think this is where they are not doing well. No, they are doing well. But the presence of additional services had basically reduced their contribution percentage. Net promoter score is the ratings given. We can see industry average and Beago. Industry average, Beago is doing well to the. Okay. So 5 years ago, industry average and Beago, the net promoter score is very high, but we have seen it has gradually reduced. 4 years ago, same. 3 years ago, industry has reduced again. 2 years ago, same. And here, again, we are moving. If you look at Beago, see it has declined, stagnant, decline, grown. So why has this grown? We don't know information. 2002 and 2003, the net promoter score of Beago has grown. What have they done to improve? Information is not given. That could be given in the final exhibit in the exam. Right? Even though we are ahead than the industry, overall, we should be unhappy with why our net promoter score has declined. We don't know the information. One thing could be customers are expecting more from us. That could be a reason why they are getting less and less satisfied. One thing could be due to congestion, driver delays. One more reason they are getting dissatisfied. We don't know. These are inevitable. But if the reason is something that could have been avoided, like driver is not polite, the technical problems in the app, too much of delays of the driver. So if there are reasons that can be avoided, then that should be addressed. If there are unavoidable reasons, then unfortunately, it's very difficult. Because see, we are better than the industry. Things like if customers expecting more and more convenience from us, we have limited scope to improve them practically. So we can't comment on that unless they give us better information. There, always make sure you respond based on the information given by the exam. And driver satisfaction also has declined. Reasons for decline driver satisfaction? Unknown. They have given us Beago staff numbers. So in terms of percentages, what I really want, research and design, 1,100 odd, 22%. Majority are into research and design. Product management, data science, understanding data analytics, 14%. Customer services, 770, another 14%. Legal and safety, sales and marketing. So you can see numbers here. So Beago has employed over 5,000 staff in 60 locations across Sweden. Over 50% of its staff are employed in research and design. So you can see research and design, product management, data science. All of these are into research and design. 2016-14, 52% are into employed into research and design. Important, obviously. Since we're in the digital platform, we have to make sure it is seamless. Product management and data science and technology with, yes. Drivers are not recognized as employees by Beago, the independent contractors, because that numbers are not here. Beago's growth, we have seen Beago registered and active customers has been grown. Number of cities where Beago operates has also grown. Number of cities have grown and total revenue has grown. We have no information about customer retention. So these are all information given. So once you go through all of these, guys, now you have a clear picture. So yes, you can see the same information in the pre-scene. Everything's given here. But see, once you have your own note, you can have a better mind map. It's easy for you to identify the whole story because you yourself noted down the information, and you should be able to connect the information you have noted down, just like what I did now. That's the first thing I want you to do. Because once you note down your own information by yourself, and now you're connecting the dots, building up the story, you will be able to identify the key pluses and minuses, key strengths and weaknesses of the internal environment, opportunity and threats in the external environment. And finally, once you do this, I also require you to do a SWOT based on the pre-scene. So you had noted down your mind map here. You had noted down your mind map here. So from this, you selectively categorize your findings into internal strength and weakness, external opportunities and threats. I'll take you through this quickly. So this is your final preparation. Knowing this, you have basically obtained crucial information for the examination. Let's take your SWOT strength, second largest in the Beeland. We have approximately 35% market share, estimated based on the graph. Together with Zenby, we hold 85%. That's a strength. We are one of the prominent leaders in the industry. Gradually rising market share over the years. It's a home brand, it's a local brand, national brand. Zenby's home brand status is unclear. We don't know about Zenby. Zenby is present in over 50 countries. We have a 12-year history, and we are second to introduce TNC in Beeland. So our brand should also be well known to customers. We have predicted an increase of customers by 18.75%. This year, 16 million. We have predicted 19 million customer next year, along with city expansion. However, the number of customers are predicted to increase by 18.75%, which is good news. Listed in stock exchange, investors trust and confidence and access to great funds. We are listed in the stock exchange, so we have access to greater funds. Focus on micro mobility since 5 years ago with investment in infrastructure in last 2 years. That's a strength of us. We had invested in infrastructure and entered this micro mobility market since 5 years ago. And now we are seeing results. 11% of the total revenue comes from micro mobility. This has a growing demand. Technology platform or system is in the cloud, real-time access to data. Marketing has heavy presence in the digital landscape. It's a strength. Custom engagement predominantly in digital media. It's good. More than 5,000 employees, 60 locations, services in 250 cities. We do not know our competitors and other industry and others' data. We have put our data. Keeping in mind that we and the market lead have 85% market share, and the other independent TNCs have limited scope, limited expansion. We would have a higher market presence than the other TNCs, except for Zenpay. Maintenance of risk register, good. We have a proper approach to managing risk. At least we have records of a risk register. Annual driver evaluation for criminal convictions is a good strength. This had enhanced customer security. So if this is communicated to customers, customers will have more trust on Beago in terms of their security. Most drivers are equipped with cameras for security and monitoring. Customers can select the right type. For example, they can select electric, they can select hybrid vehicles, they can even select share services. Electric and hybrid vehicles have addressed considerations of environmentally conscious customers. This also includes bicycle services, micromobility. Employees are heavily recruited from research, design, and product management and data science and technology. 50%, more than half of our employees are into technology, research, and development, which basically tells that we who are in the digital platform have invested heavily on employees so that we can provide a better seamless service in the future, which is a good investment. On top of this, I have put it 2 notes. Industry, there is no regulations on data security, driver status, and environmental impact. This is a threat to every business here. And values, ethical conduct, safety of customers, drivers, and communities, privacy and safety is outsourced fully. Our technological aspect is outsourced to a partner company also in the same country. So this is a core activity, and we have outsourced this. This is something we have to think about because the core activity should always be done in-house. Because this is something in the long run, and it's better to do in-house. Recommendation. Weaknesses, cloud service provider hosts technology platform. We should have done it in-house, but Beago is outsourcing. Because cloud service provider which hosts our technology platform is of strategic importance, Beago should not lose control over this. Beago does not have in-house experts for privacy and security management. CEO's role in the organizing structure is problematic because their placement in the structure is at the equal level of other executive directors. Decrease in customer satisfaction levels, net promoter score. I told even though we are ahead of the industry, but overall our customer satisfaction level has reduced. Decrease in driver satisfaction rating also has reduced. Driver satisfaction rating also has reduced over the years. Reason unknown. These are weaknesses. Opportunities. 80% of population is in the urban areas where we are heavily present. Government support for solutions, so they are also supporting TNCs. They would not make it trouble for TNCs. They would provide convenience for TNCs. TNC is known for convenience and fair price. Is popular amongst the government, amongst the customers. Customers of TNC have been doubled over the last 8 years. We see, and we also had discussed, 25% of population active users of TNCs, which shows the market size. Clean air zones are also facilitated through products like micromobility, where TNC has entered since last 5 years. Electric vehicles are environmental friendly. This is an opportunity to attract like-minded customers. TNC has high security. Okay. Because now through the in-app services, we have location tracking, in-app emergency contact, driver identification, ratings. So these will provide enhanced security for passengers. In terms of threats, market leader has a greater penetration and was the initiator of TNC in Sweden. We are number 2 in the market. Market number 1, market leader ZNB, is present in multiple countries, and they are the first to introduce TNC to Beeland. So they have the first move advantage, and their market share is greater than us. Local authorities have intervention. They have control over TNC and the drivers. Expected increase in regulations on TNCs. This is not good news. Safety of customers and drivers is commonplace because safety of customers and drivers are at stake. They have identified things like assault, things like theft, which affects both driver and passenger. That's a serious threat. Lawsuits from breaches, air pollution, cities introducing technologies to manage congestion and traffic. Clean air zones, drivers need to pay to enter these zones. Now, Beeland has established clean air zones. So in these zones, to reduce the number of vehicles incoming, they are now charging a separate fee. So if TNC drivers have to pick up passengers or drop passengers in these zones, additional charges are there. So how will the passengers take this? Driverless cars and GPS. This may replace TNCs due to greater convenience in travel. Now, when it comes to driverless cars, we told that it's on test for TNCs, but the presence of driverless cars, will that cause passengers to start owning their own car? That's something we have to think about. Okay. Passengers who do not like driving, they would rather take a TNC so that someone else can drive them. So for those passengers who look for convenience, driverless cars might be a product that might change their minds. We are not aware of this potential threat. If emergence of trade unions and driver network associations in other countries, some countries had driver network associations and trade unions emerged. If that also is reached in Beeland, will that lead to Beago compromising on its returns? Not sure. Significantly affected by global economic conditions. So they have specifically stated TNC is affected by macroeconomic situations, such as global economic recession. So this is also a threat in the macro environment. So see, once you do the SWOT, you have a clear picture of the strength and weakness of Beago. These weaknesses are areas that can threaten, and also opportunities and threats. So this preparation is what you need to do for your exam so that you can be completely confident with your pre-preparations. First, make sure you read the pre-scene, take down the important notes so that you can create a mind map. So once you are comfortable with those information, now it's up to you to decide, is there a strength or weakness, opportunity or threat? So this practice is what I recommend for students to do. Even yes, you have to take some time to do this. SBL is unlike other modules. It's more of a very practical subject where you have to put yourself in that scenario. There is no right or wrong here as long as your choice is rational and it provides results. As long as you justify your answer, the examiner will consider your answer. So for that, you have to have a proper understanding of your position and the situation. So this is the preparation that we have done with my students for the September 2025 examination. So once you receive your pre-scene by mid-November, I would want you to do something similar, right? So this marks the end of today's session. I wanted to have a quick chat on the paper structure, a quick chat on what the examiner what the examiner expects from you. And I also picked out a couple of models and what their purpose is. And specifically, I spoke on two models which will be very helpful for you in the examination: the strategic management process as well as the SFA aspects on strategic choice evaluation. And finally, I took you through our preparation on what to do once you get the pre-scene so that you have the pre-scene properly felt as a senior advisor. Right. So I want to do something similar. Let's take baby steps. Let's do this step by step. And next week, let's meet up with another session where I'll take you through another evaluation on the previous examinations pre-scene. So let's have a quick look on what sort of information there are. So when you get exposed to a couple of pre-scenes, you will find out similarities on what they provide. Organization information, industry information, which includes macro environment, competitive environment, uh, any recent developments. And they also might give us information that would help us, such as company KPIs, company financials. And finally, they always give us website extracts so that we also are not out of touch with the digital landscape. All right. So we have come to the end of the first revision session for SBL for the December 2025 examination. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'll see you next week, guys. Bye-bye. Hi, Vinayak. Hello. Hi, my session is over. You can edit the session and the live stream also.